Hi, this is Allie. Today I've come to make another video about evangelicals, and I'm an ex-evangelical. I was raised in the church, and now I am out of the church. I've been out since basically since I was a teenager. Um, the way, I should tell at some point. I should tell my deconversion story. It's a deconversion story. So today, I didn't come to tell my deconversion story today. Today, I came to talk about evangelicals as a political force, evangelicals, and how they've been flying under the radar. So let's talk about evangelicals and when people want, other versions of Christianity who are not evangelicals, who want to put distance between themselves and the things that they see evangelicals doing by saying, well, they're not really Christians. I have come here to please ask you to stop doing that. For like a few reasons. One is that, it is a single reason, and the reason is evangelicals have been operating as a political organizing force in American life since the 80s. Okay, we're talking back to Billy Graham and Ronald Reagan. The sort of rise of political organizing within the evangelical church had, it sort of starts in the end of the 70s, roughly. I haven't done like a ton of reading on this, a little bit, but I don't want to make like a bunch of broad statements about the history, but I can tell you right now about the things that I remember, although I am starting to do some more research. But we go into the Bill Clinton era and we get the so-called rise of the religious right. And we are talking about, in this case, a lot of evangelicals, not solely, but people who are evangelicals and people who feel comfortable making common cause with evangelicals. And these people, went to exert their influence in the political sphere. And then we got an evangelical president in George W. Bush. And then it's not been going well, okay? And I feel like the reason why most evangelicals do not want people to distance the rest of Christianity from evangelicalism, oh God, just itchy nose. I mean, it was fine before I turned the camera on, and then it just started itching up a storm. The reason why we don't want you to put that distance there is because evangelicals would never have gotten as far as they have in political organizing, in political life, basically they are the Republican Party at this point. They have colonized the Republican Party. You may think it's Donald Trump, but it's really Mike Pence. Okay, and all his ilk, and Betsy DeVos is an evangelical, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders is an evangelical, and Jeff Sessions is an evangelical, and all these people are evangelicals. He has a ton of evangelicals in positions of power, and they are the ones running things, because that Trump is lazy, and he just kind of picks and chooses what he wants to do. So the reason why this is important is because if evangelicals were not a branch of Christianity, they would not have been able to get into this level of power, to start to enact the things that they want to do, which they are doing. And to say that they're not Christians is to abdicate any kind of responsibility for the fact that, like, this has been happening openly for 3 or 4 decades, and it was not challenged, it's not been checked, it's not been reported on, it's not been covered. I mean, how much more coverage has Scientology gotten than the dominionism and the seven mountains of the pre and post tribulationists of the evangelical church. Do you know what that stuff is? Because I bet you know what an e-meter is if you're interested in Scientology, but I bet you don't know much about the interior workings of evangelical theology. And the reason why is because it has not been covered. And like, if there was a president who had a cabinet full of Scientologists, because Scientologists aren't Christians, I believe we would see a lot more coverage and alarm than we do, because, you know, the default state in American life is that Christianity is like invisible. I mean, it's a form of privilege. And so we've got to account for that in the ways that we deal with evangelicals, because evangelicals treat religious tolerance as a concept in the same way that the alt-right and MRAs and those internet Nazis and all of these people lumped in together, the way that they treat the concept of free speech. It's something that you use to shut down your opponents, but you don't really believe in it yourself. If you think that you will be granted religious tolerance by evangelicals, if they get, you know, more power and they're really able to put that like theology into place, you're not, okay? If you think that you're going to be okay because you're some version of Christianity that is not evangelicals, you will not be okay. I'm just here to tell you, that's not how it's going to go down, okay? And I just am so frustrated in that, like, the perspectives of evangelicals, the history, the lives of like people who have fought the church, who have left the church, who are critical of the church. These things are not, they're not listened to, they're not promoted, they're not given space. You know, the Billy Graham Center can, or Focus on the Family can come and say whatever they want about like hashtag church too, and the newspapers will print it. But will they print the stories and the experiences of the people who have been abused within the church? No, they don't do that. They're not interested. And the part of the reason why is because they know that if they bring forward our stories, if they bring forward not just our stories, but our analysis, because I don't just want to offer you stories of horrible childhood abuse. I want to offer you analysis of the ways in which the things that evangelicals say and the things that they are planning to do, that you would not have access to otherwise, because they're very much, they operate and they recruit people very much in the same way that you know, the alt-right does. They have like jargon. They have all this language that they use that doesn't make sense if you aren't within the world. They have all these things that sound like they might be reasonable until you start to look at them, you know, and what they actually mean. And they will absolutely walk you down the path, you know, to get you to agree with one thing that sounds reasonable if you don't think about it too much, and then another, and then another, and then another, and then the next thing you know, you're in a position where you're sort of agreeing to something that's pretty monstrous. These are cult tactics. Like, it's not that evangelicals are like pinching the tactics of MRAs and alt-right people. It's the other way around, okay? The alt-right is pinching the cult tactics of evangelicals and other cults and using them to their own ends. But these tactics are in existence from prior to that. The evangelicals are very dangerous. They have training in rhetoric that if you're not from that world, that you probably don't have. And that they are able to engage in ways that are not going to be, like, they're not going to be able to be well countered by people who are not familiar with them. And they get even more, like, they're not, you know, waving a 4chan flags so they get even more, like, benefit of the doubt because, oh, it's a church. It's a Christian church, right? And I really do, and I know this is going to sound radical, and I know that not a lot of people are ready to go there yet, although, I mean, I swear to God, I don't know what it's going to take. The Bethany Christian Services, it is an evangelical adoption agency that is taking the children of migrants, of people who are asylum seekers, people who are trying to come into this country. I should not have said migrants. That's not correct. It's asylum seekers. They're taking people's children, and they're not going to give them back. Okay? That was always the plan. Bethany has been caught doing this before. This is not the first time. It's not even close. And the reason why they're doing that is it is now a part of their end times theology that they need to adopt and indoctrinate as many children as possible through adoption, to forcibly indoctrinate them into a theology of abuse. And it's never a mistake with these people. They're like, oh no, the paperwork, oh, it was a mistake. Oh, whoops, well, we adopted them out, so it's too late now. Haha. Like, no, this was never a mistake. It was never, this was always the plan. And, did they plan that they were going to do this? Like, I mean, not exactly. I'm sure you can't find, like, emails where they're like, let's get with Trump and we'll definitely do this. But, I mean, they saw an opportunity to do the thing that they've been doing, and so they're doing it more. So we've got that. We've got, the guy who just called for an all, men genocide killing of people who don't agree with him after he's put his, like, dominionism, in his wildest dreams, like, dominionism into place. Let's talk about dominionism also. But, this is just saying the quiet parts loud, okay? This has always, they can say this wasn't the plan, this guy's some kind of outlier. He's not, though. I mean, like, this every new thing, like, denying that this separation of church and state exists, taking people's children, advocating for genocide, these, advocating for, like, potential world-ending, like, conflicts with nuclear powers. Like, these things they're not, like, that far out of bounds for the way that I was raised in this church. And I just need people to kind of, I hope that people want to hear about that, because there's, like, the thing that is so frustrating is that there's, like, the same level of surprise every time a new atrocity happens. How can this happen? How can these church people agree with this? What's it going to take to peel them off of this thing that I think people imagine is a Donald Trump thing and not a church thing, but this is from the church. I think that this flows maybe more from the church to Donald Trump than even the other way around. Oh, maybe they're just simpatico. I don't know. But the Christian nationalism, that is coming from the evangelical church. The racism, the violent misogyny. These things have been in the church for decades. They will implement them as far as they absolutely can. The evangelical church is like kudzu. It's like a invasive weed. Like, it is gonna take over everything that it possibly can in every inch that it is possibly given. And it's frightening. I used to really believe when I left, in the 90s, I tried to kind of talk to people about it, and it didn't really seem like it was something that people were that interested in hearing, and you gotta live your life. And I just decided, like, I'm just gonna get out of here and I'm just gonna let it go. And it's not gonna be, I'm not gonna live where they are. I'm not gonna let this church touch me. And I'm just gonna move forward, because people, it's impossible to talk about. People have, like, no, it, it it's like you're speaking a language they can't even hear. Like they don't have the ability to hear the words, because it's so far outside of people's like experience with church and with how they think that church people are, or how they should be. And that, like, being able to express to people, like, the things that happened in my childhood in the church, it's just impossible. Like, if I thought when I left that, because evangelicals are really open. They're very, very open about the things that they want to do. At least there's always one pastor who is really willing to record himself making a sermon about how gay people should be hit with rocks in the street until they die, because that's what the Bible says. Like, there's always one person who's definitely willing to, like, go there. And, like, and every time, and, like, it's just people won't put it together that, like, these people are from the same thing. And I used to think that if people could just see what they were doing and what they were about, that we would be safe, because people would stop them, because people would say, like, we can't have this. Like, this is not only is it not acceptable, it's like, it is like it's like suicide. Like, it is like a political culture of just, like, ruining everything, and, like, the end time, like, trying to cause the actual end of the world that you welcome with open arms. And I thought people would be like, oh no, that's very, very dangerous, because it is. And they just don't see it. And it's so frightening. It's so frightening. I have a lot of dark thoughts about it. But, like, please, we've got to do better. We've got to, like, look at them and like, you need to believe them. When they show you who they are and what they want, like, and not think it's a joke. Like, how far does it have to go before people understand it's not a joke? I don't know. I mean, sometimes people ask me, what can I do? Like, what can I do to fight evangelicals if other people won't listen? You have to demand that the media speak to even the people who have left. You have to fight, like, push back on these, like, stories that are like, we don't know why they're doing this, or like the dapper Nazi coverage that the evangelical church is getting. They are a hate group. We have to treat them like you would treat a hate group. They have to be deplatformed. They have to be defunded in so much as we can. They have to be contained. And we have to give the people who want to leave a way to leave and a place to go. And, like, I don't know how we do that. Oh. But I do know that it has to start with seeing them clearly for who they are and what they're doing. Because if we can't do that, we are doomed. I'm sorry, I know it's very dark. But I don't understand. I don't understand how we've gotten into the position where people don't even now people can't see it when it's so obvious. And I don't know what to do other than just to keep talking about it. So maybe next time I'll tell my deconversion story. It's horrible, but I usually tell it in a funny way because, like, what else are you gonna do? Oh boy. Okay, so please like and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. It helps more people find my work and the evangelical work. More people need to know about this. Please share the video. You know, if you have any questions about evangelicals, just ask me in the comments and I will do the best that I can to either answer them or find you an answer. I want to talk about this more. I think it's really, really important. So, sorry about the, like, big time crying. I can't talk about this without crying. That's all. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.